Everyone wants the same thing from cucumbers. Not a few random fruits, but armfuls of crisp cucumbers week after week. And that is exactly why it feels so frustrating when one garden keeps producing until frost, while another slows down almost as soon as fruiting begins. At first, it looks like luck, variety, or better fertilizer. But most of the time, the difference is much simpler. One grower gets the chain of steps right, and the other breaks that chain somewhere early. I realized over time that cucumbers almost never fail because of one big mistake. They fail because several small mistakes stack on top of each other. Weak seed preparation, cold soil, a poor planting hole, rough transplanting, early fruit overload, bad feeding, weak pollination, or lazy harvesting. None of those alone may look dramatic, but together they decide whether the plant becomes a tired vine that gives up early or a strong producer that keeps pushing new fruit. So the first stage is the seed, and this is where many people already lose time without noticing it. If you sow weak, sleepy seeds into cool soil, your cucumbers do not begin with momentum. They begin with stress. That means slower germination, weaker early growth, and less resilience when nights turn cold. A strong cucumber season starts with seed that wakes up fast, germinates evenly, and enters the bed ready to move, not ready to recover. The next step is the bed itself, and cucumbers are far pickier here than many people think. They want warmth at the roots, loose soil, and steady access to food and moisture without sitting in a cold swamp. That is why a warm, organic bed or a deeply prepared planting pocket works so well. It feeds the plant, holds life, and keeps the root zone active. If the bed is cold, dense, and empty, the plant spends too much of the season trying to survive instead of trying to produce. Then comes planting, and this is where cucumbers punish rough handling very quickly. Cold water, dry planting holes, damaged roots, or a root ball shoved carelessly into the ground can stop growth for days. If the seedling is a little stretched, that is not always disaster. Cucumbers can make extra roots along buried stem sections if handled correctly. But the key is still the same. The move into the garden should reduce stress, not create it. Right after planting, many gardeners make the next mistake. They let the young plant waste strength too early. The first low flowers and tiny first fruits feel exciting, so people leave everything. But if the plant starts carrying fruit before it has built roots and leaf mass, it slows down the very engine that should support the main harvest later. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is remove the earliest lower ovaries so the plant spends its first energy on becoming stronger, not on proving itself too soon. After that, feeding matters, but not in the way many people imagine. This is not about throwing more fertilizer at the plant every time growth slows. It is about supporting the cucumber at the exact moment when it shifts from building vine to carrying flowers and fruit. If nutrition is unbalanced here, the leaves pale, the plant loses force, and the ovaries begin to drop before they ever become cucumbers. Flowering is its own stage, and it deserves separate attention. Heat, poor airflow, bad humidity, weak pollen movement, and stress can all leave you with plenty of flowers but disappointing fruit set. So at this point, you are no longer just growing a vine. You are protecting the future harvest. Good pollination, balanced moisture, and a calm, unstressed plant make a huge difference between a vine full of promise and a vine full of actual cucumbers. Then comes the middle of the season, and this is where many cucumber patches quietly begin to fail. The lower stem ages, old leaves collect disease pressure, airflow gets worse, and the plant starts spending more energy maintaining old tissue than producing new fruit.
If you do nothing, the vine simply gets tired. But if you manage the plant, keep it open, remove what is no longer useful, and help it stay active, you can keep harvest going far longer. That is why extending cucumber production is not luck. It is management. You are trying to stop the plant from deciding that its job is already done, because cucumbers naturally want to make seed and shut down. If you renew the lower stem, reduce disease pressure, and keep growth moving upward, the vine does not age as fast. And that often becomes the difference between harvesting only in one wave and harvesting almost to frost.
And then comes one of the most underestimated parts of the whole system: harvesting itself. If you leave oversized cucumbers on the vine, the plant reads that as success. Seeds are forming, the mission is being completed, and urgency drops. But if you harvest often and remove young fruit on time, the plant keeps trying to replace what it just lost. In other words, frequent harvest is not just collecting the result. It is one of the tools that creates the result. So when people ask why one gardener gets a few cucumbers and another fills bucket after bucket, I do not think the answer is a single trick anymore. I think the answer is a sequence. Strong seed start, warm bed, careful planting, smart early shaping, timely feeding, protected flowering, managed vines, and disciplined harvest. Put those together, and cucumbers stop feeling random. They start feeling like a crop you can actually guide.